Welcome back to This Is Working. I'm Dan Roth, LinkedIn's editor-in-chief. On this show, we talk to leaders who have a significant impact on how we live and how we work now. Today, my guest is Bobbi Brown. Bobbi Brown was a makeup artist in the 80s, fed up with the unnatural disco-tight makeup trend. So she took $5,000 out of her own company and created her namesake beauty line that turned into a billion-dollar company. And for 26 years, she grew Bobbi Brown Cosmetics into a global brand while working for Estee Lauder. But in late 2016, Bobbi called it quits. It was time to go back to her entrepreneurial roots. The last time I talked to Bobbi, she was a couple years into her next play. She had just become a certified health coach, and she was running her second business. She'd also opened a hotel with her husband. But last year, hospitality came to a standstill, and makeup started gathering dust as people quarantined. So what did Bobbi Brown do? She started a new makeup line, Jones Road Beauty. It made me wonder, what does Bobbi see that others don't? And what drives her to jump from risk to risk? And with that, I want to welcome Bobbi Brown to This Is Working.
Hey, Dan, how are you?
Hey, good, Bobbi. Welcome back. It's great to see you again.
Thank you. It's weird we're not in the same room, but you gotta be open to change.
Exactly. Well, it's exactly where I want to start, because last time we talked, we were in the studio. We actually were right in front of each other. There were no masks. We would have thought it was crazy to even wear masks. You're back to masks in the office right now. Talk to me a little bit, if you wouldn't mind, about what the last 18 months have been like. How did you do during the pandemic?
Well, on a personal level, I spent most of the pandemic in the Hamptons with my family. There were 7 of us in the house, and it was very interesting. It was amazing. It was challenging. And you know what? It's something that I would never, imagine, but I'm so grateful I had all that time with my family. One of my kids got engaged, one got married. Now I have another engaged one graduated college, and, always my work and my home life kind of meld together. And that works for me.
Sorry, you said you had how many people in your house?
I think we had about 7. I have 3 sons. We had an engaged son, then another engaged son, then a nephew, then a college kid. So we lived together, and every night was like Saturday night, having these big dinners and, and cocktails. And it was a lot of fun and a lot of work. I never cleaned so much in my life.
So during this time, you launched an entirely new brand. Before we even get into that brand, can you just explain how you have handled work and life when you have 7 people around you? I assume, like the rest of us, you have to go try to find a corner to work in, or you're closing doors and asking people to stop being so loud.
Yes.
What was it like?
Well, it's interesting. My entire career has been balancing my family and my work. I had a full-time job, but I started working a couple days a week from home. I had 3 kids. The first kid was born when I started the first company. So I've always figured out how to kind of make my lifestyle work. And I think now hopefully everyone is catching up, realizing what's really important, and you just figure it out. And if something doesn't work, do something different and fix it.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Jones Road Beauty. When you launched this brand in October 2020, you were coming off a non-compete. You had sold your company to Estee Lauder in the mid-90s. You worked there 25 years, and then you had a non-compete that stopped you from launching anything in the beauty business. What was that like before you could launch this? What was it like having one hand almost tied behind your back? You've been interested in makeup since you were in high school. How was it as an entrepreneur, knowing that you couldn't do what you love doing?
Well, probably not easy, but when my husband and I sold the company, we were in our early 30s, and we had a 25-year non-compete, which at the time I said, well, I'm never going to work when I'm in my 60s. But guess what? I'm in my 60s, and I wasn't done. I didn't know I wanted to go back in the beauty business. I didn't know I wanted to start another cosmetics company. But I realized that's where my heart is. That's where my passion. And I knew I had something else to teach and some other things to create. So Jones Road Beauty was launched the day my 25-year non-compete was up, 1 week before the presidential election, in the middle of everything, the pandemic, Black Lives Matters, everything. everyone said, "You're crazy, don't do it." And I did it because that was the date I was working towards. And it's been an incredible year with a young team. And we've been mostly launched from our bedrooms. And now we're back in our office a couple days a week. So you got to be open and you have to shift.
Can you describe the company? What kind of makeup who are you targeting? What kind of makeup are you making? What does the future hold for the company?
Right. It's so different than anything I ever did because I did not want to, repeat anything I did. I did one thing and now I'm doing something different. It's a direct consumer brand. It's a clean brand. It's also the aesthetics of the brand is very much just looking fresh and natural. To me, it's the ultimate no makeup. And it's just simple ways to make people look better effortlessly. And true story, I live 3 minutes from my office. I did my makeup literally driving over. And, I don't wear a lot of makeup, but I just believe that people want to look better like themselves. And most of us that are home on Zoom all day or just doing something, you just need something. You need it easy and you need it simple. It's not complicated. And I really have a lot more to share and do. And I don't play golf and tennis. So, creating companies is my passion.
And considering that we are living our lives so much like this, talking to each other on the camera, you have people not showing up in offices now or showing up one day a week, couple of days a week. I mean, it's just all of that has changed. Did you change at all how you thought about Jones Road Beauty since the world changed as you were developing the company?
Well, I don't think so, but I think I got really lucky because it's not just me that wanted to do this kind of makeup and wear this kind of makeup. So many people that were at home didn't realize this is what they've been looking for their whole life. They didn't want the heavy foundation, the contouring, the over made up, and you just want to look and feel better instantly. And so, it was really timely. And, looking back, people think I probably am, much smarter than I am, but really, I do think I got lucky. And I think people are catching up with the way I've always liked to be.
Huh. Is there any other change you made because of the pandemic? Was there something that you wanted to do with the launch that you weren't able to do, or something that you are capitalizing on because of how the world works now?
Well, because of, circumstances, I couldn't have a launch party. I couldn't have a press party. And honestly, for a moment I was like, oh, but I ended up filming the Today Show from, my couch. They did a 5-minute piece. I was on Elvis Duran the day it launched, from my bedroom, basically. And Wall Street Journal did a story, which was amazing. 3 great things. And then instead of, having a big party tying bows, we sent little boxes to, the same people that we would have invited to the press party. And it was easier. And then instead of desk sides, I did Zoom sides. So, honestly, Dan, I've done it both ways. The amount of money that I save doing it this way, the amount of manpower, and guess what? I think it's more return doing in this way because you reach a bigger audience. You know how big your audience is on LinkedIn. I could have launched on LinkedIn, by the way. I'm sorry I didn't think of it. It would have been a great idea.
Yeah.
Next.
Can we start over? I mean, is it possible to take it down and restart?
Yeah.
Bobbi, you have people tuning in to this from all over the world. I'm just going to give some shout outs here. Let's say we've got Patty from Scotland, Tracy from Houston, John from San Francisco, Amanda from Georgia, and a couple people wanted to just express some love for you. So Stephanie says, love this new green approach and venture. Keep up the beautiful work. And Dana says, make your own path. Go, Bobbi, go. So a lot of fans out there, a lot of people who I think have really grown up with you and feel like they've worn you for a long time. And because your name has always been part of the brand, they, I think, feel like they know you. Was it hard to not have your name attached to the brand this time?
Well, no, not at all. And, first of all, everyone knows what everyone does. I go on, whether it's LinkedIn or Instagram lives and, do my makeovers with friends of mine that are stuck in their homes and they're bored and everyone gets to watch. So my audience, my group that I go to that tells me what they like, what they don't like, they're right there in the comments. And I love reading them, and I enjoy answering people. So it's just a great way to reach a consumer, to certainly reach, or reach or get any kind of information instantly.
Do you use any of that to help you with your roadmap? I know it's one thing to hear from people saying, love your product and asking for back and forth, but does it also help you figure out what's working and what's not working? Or is that really coming from your team and internally what you know works?
Well, when I knew I had a success, and I remember telling my husband that, I was nervous. Any founder that doesn't, admit that they're nervous about doing something, because there's a chance it's not going to work. But when I started reading the comments of the women that were actually getting and trying the products, I was blown away. I was so excited. And that is such important information. Why, while I have my, brilliant general manager who's dealing with all the numbers and, profits and all those things and opportunities, I have one-on-one information. I don't have to wait for a team to get focus groups. I have it right in front of me. So I think it's such a gift for any founder to realize, use what you have, in front of you. That's number one.
And speaking of that, you're running really lean this time. I mean, instead of being at Estee Lauder, I think you have a 12-person team. Is that right?
That is correct. And, when I get frustrated how long things take or how much I have to do where I used to have people to do it, I realize how much happier I am now. There's no layers. I'm the boss again. I can't help it. I like being the boss. I don't really like being told what to do. I'm open to, to what people are saying on my team, but I kind of know what I really believe in and what I want to do. But you know what? It's so much better. It's like, we don't have the big budgets. We don't have the meetings. We don't have all the things that were actually, like a lot to deal with. Now it's, oh, what do we want to put it in? We launched our face pencils and we put them in a stasher's bag, good for the environment, put it in a biodegradable box, sent it out. We didn't need any stuffing, and it was just perfect. So we're doing those kind of scrappy things that I think makes the brand look interesting and cool.
When you tie all that together, you're talking about the ability to run a company at so much smaller of a scale and still have this massive impact. Fewer people. You're doing you're doing user research online. You're asking people exactly what they feel. You're getting that right back. You've also gone direct to consumer this time. Instead of having to work with retailers and do road shows and spend 6 months while buyers figure out whether they want to stock you, you're in control of your entire stocking and retail operation. First question is, what's that direct to consumer model like? What have you learned about doing it? And then I also want to talk about what this means for the economy when people can run these companies in the way that you have, much more nimbly.
Well, I think if people will realize what they can do and not always see things as a roadblock. I mean, as an entrepreneur, I'm someone that when other people see roadblocks, things aren't going to happen, I find it as an opportunity to do something different and try something. It might work, it might not work. But, I do think that in this day and age, there's no rules. And the difference between direct to consumer is, if something doesn't arrive at the warehouse on time, guess what? We won't launch it. We haven't promised retailers we're launching it. I haven't even told the customers yet until the day I launch it. So what? We'll launch it next week, or maybe the team is overwhelmed and busy. We'll launch it in 2 weeks. Like, we make those decisions. And one of my favorite stories is our number one, hero product is called Miracle Balm. We sold out in 3 weeks. We thought we'd have enough for 6 months. So I, went on, our social and told everyone, and we had a huge waiting line. And about a month later, we found 3,500 sitting in the warehouse. And my team said, there's no boxes, we'll order boxes. I said, don't wait for boxes. Go to the store and buy white sandwich bags. Let's put it in the sandwich bag and let's just sell it. We sold all of them in 1 day. A big company could not do that.
No, that's a great story. What would have happened at Estee Lauder had you wanted to do something like that? What would have happened?
Well, any big company, first of all, they probably wouldn't have been 25 or 3,500 sitting without boxes. Like, someone would have figured that out. And, it would have taken a long time to figure out what to do. So everybody jumped quickly, and my team, we printed the ingredients on a card and we put it in, and we got a piece of really cool neon tape and taped the back of it and sold it. People were probably happy they didn't have to throw out a box.
You said that in another interview that you would never want to be part of a $1 billion brand again because, quote, the fun things go away. What are some of the fun things that that you're talking about there?
Yeah, well, it's really funny because my friends in finance, when they read that, and I think it was Financial Times, they're like, "Don't say that. You could be $1 billion brand." I'm like, "All right, maybe I'll be $1 billion brand, but I'm not going to sell it to a big company and still be there." So, what are the fun things? I mean, this is fun. What else to me is fun? Sitting with a bunch of people and creating products and coming up with ideas and just getting things moving. To me, like, things have to move. I don't have a long attention span. So, like 3 years to get something out the door was not the way, I liked it. Now it's 4 months from idea to getting it to the consumer, 4 months.
Amazing. I want to give some more shout outs here coming in from the stream. Aileen says, I love that no makeup. I rarely wear makeup because I love the natural look. Is that a good thing, by the way? I rarely wear makeup. Is that what you want to hear? Yeah.
People that rarely wear makeup, because most traditional makeup on the market makes people not like the way they look. There's different customers. There are customers that would not like Jones Road. They like a full face of makeup. But there are plenty of customers that understand how good you could look when you don't look over made up. So that is a good thing.
All right, a couple other ones. Joel says, so behind Bobbi on this new venture. Angelica says, roadblocks create innovation. Yeah, that's a really, I love that last point there, this idea of every time you hit a roadblock, finding something new. Are you training your team how to react that way? Do you think they're waiting for you to come up with this idea of how to get around roadblock? Or are you hearing them at this point come up with ideas also based on how you're reacting to when you see problems?
I challenge my team, and my team is really young. I mean, there's not that many people over 35, maybe over 30. And I have some, of my best employees who are in their, early to mid 20s. And honestly, like, not having been burned or beaten or, whatever happens when you have these, decade-long jobs, you've got this freshness. And yes, what they don't have in experience, they definitely have in excitement and openness and willingness to learn things. So, it takes a while to get people, working and understanding the way you work. And, in the beginning, it might've been a little challenging, but it's been about 8 months, and I love my team.
Anything that you are learning from them or from others as you launch this new company in a new environment, whether that is the hybrid world or whether that's DTC, is there anything that you are either getting mentoring on, where you're saying, like, someone else has to teach me how this this works today? What are some of those areas?
Well, certainly brands, like understanding other like-minded brands, because one of the ways that we're promoting, Jones Road is by doing partnerships with other brands. And they come in with these brands, and sometimes I'm like, I never heard of them. I'm not sure. And, they show it to me and I'm like, all right, that's really cool. And other brands that I might think are really cool, they don't. And, probably the biggest difference is when I start referring to either, movies or very well-known icons and celebrities, they've never heard of them. I mean, there was one girl that never heard of Bob Dylan. So, that's amazing to me.
I mean, that just feels wrong. I feel like no matter what age you are, it's probably important to know Bob Dylan. But it's just, it's very funny when you look back at so much has been written about you and your history and how you got your start. And a lot, the way that you broke through was by saying, like, the way that the industry works, the makeup industry was working was not who you wanted to be. And it didn't feel like what the times were saying. Do you ever worry that you don't have that same pulse on what people want, or how do you make sure that you do have that, or is it not important because you know who your customers are?
Yeah, no, it's really important, and it's really important to be open. I am really open to what is new, what's different, how you do things. I I certainly get energized when I hear ideas or possibilities that make no sense, but then they kind of make sense. I'm also a sponge. I love learning, what's new and what's happening. So you can't be successful in this day and age unless you are open to what is going on, and you read everything. And if you don't read, you see everything. There's so many digital, magazines and sites that how my kids, who are between 23 and 31 get their information. So you have to, as someone my age, you have to be open, and you have to just like check things out and learn from it.
Yeah, I have to say that I get a lot of my information and stay in touch through my three boys.
Yeah.
Very similar. It's like, oh, wait, you like that? Why do you like that? Now I see this is how people are. These are the brands that matter. This is how people are sharing this information. I have to make sure I'm staying up with that.
Yeah, three boys, that's what I have too. So yes,
there we go.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Would you talk a little bit about any advice that you must have entrepreneurs who are constantly asking you for how to either break into the beauty space or just how to be a good entrepreneur? What kind of advice do you give?
Well, for the new entrepreneurs that want to break into it, I am all about telling them that's great. I'm glad you want to do it, but you have to know what you want to do. And when you do it, make sure it's feasible, it's profitable, and people actually like it. And, that's your research. But for other entrepreneurs, and I have a bunch that I mentor, I'm constantly listening to them freak out and worry and anxious, and things aren't working. And I always do the same thing. Stop. Let's just for a second pat yourself on the back that we're actually having this conversation, that you have this business, and just push yourself back sometimes and look at everything, and then just try one thing. That's not working anymore. Okay, try something else. Instead of there's a lot of angst that goes into being an entrepreneur. So you have to learn how to manage it. I learned because I have a husband that is the one that says, okay, calm down. Let's just talk about it and look at it. So now that I'm experienced, I could tell that to the young people that I mentor.
Great. And then any career advice that you give people, let's say that you don't want to be an entrepreneur, but just trying to make it in the working world today. What do you tell people?
I mean, honestly, guys, you have to be on time. You have to be honest, and you can't be afraid. Meaning you can't be afraid to say, I don't know how to do something, or I'm having trouble doing this. I could use your advice on this. You have to be able to, be more confident and not be so afraid to ask the questions. It's the people that pretend they know what they're doing and don't, that is a bigger liability than the people that are actually saying, I'm not sure.
I'm sorry, did you say be on time? Was that the first part of that?
Be on time. Yes, be on time. Wherever you're going to go, be on time. And you know what? Be a little bit early. Be a little bit early, like all those things. Don't be running in the second a meeting is starting. Be on time.
That's great. Well, Bobbi, before we wrap up, I want to give some more shout outs coming in from the stream. So a lot of love from members. We have Lois, Marie, Michaela, Anusha, and Lords. All love your products and your journey. Bobbi, it is always great to have you here talking about what you've learned, what you're launching. Love seeing you on LinkedIn, continuing to interact with your fans and super fans, and hope you will join us back on This Is Working to keep us updated on your progress.
Anytime. It's a pleasure seeing you, and thanks everyone for tuning in.
All right. Thanks, Bobbi. That was Bobbi Brown, the owner of Jones Road, Bobbi Brown Cosmetics. You know her. You probably have worn her at some point. We release each episode of This Is Working as a podcast. You can find it anywhere you listen to podcasts, and you can get more advice from the world's top leaders by subscribing to my newsletter using the link you see on the screen. Also, if you wouldn't mind, go and rate the podcast. When you see it, that helps others find it. If you want to find more LinkedIn news, you can find it on the right of your LinkedIn newsfeed, or if you're on mobile, by clicking on the search button and then scrolling down, you'll see all the news that has to do with what's going on in the business world today. You can also find LinkedIn news using the link that you saw on the screen a second ago. Finally, I want to give one big shout out to a new series we have launching, something we're calling Reshuffle. And the big question we're asking here is, how can small businesses thrive again amidst the pandemic? Here's a sneak peek of Reshuffle, our third episode in the series, and that is hosted by Tamron Hall.
When America went into lockdown, small town shops across the country took an enormous hit. As America begins to open back up, many mom and pop shops have had to make some creative changes. How has Phoenix area favorite Buried Treasures Crystal Boutique reshuffled its business to ensure that it will continue to serve its unique customers and community? I'm Tamron Hall, and this is Reshuffle.
Be sure to follow LinkedIn News so you don't miss any of the episodes of Reshuffle with Tamron Hall. I'm Dan Roth. This is Working. Thanks for tuning in.